our is built in the gut. So it's super, super important that we keep our gut healthy. I tell my patients all the time, if you want to pick one body system to optimize and be working on, make it your gut, because it's kind of like the kingpin. It gives you the biggest bang for your buck to work on gut health. So first, a little introduction for those of you that might not know, or it might be your first time attending one of these. My name is Dr. Abby Kramer. I'm a chiropractor and holistic physician at Be Optimal Holistic Health Center, and we're located in Skokie, which is in the northern Chicago suburbs. That being said, we see patients all over the world virtually via telehealth, phone as well, and it's our passion to help people thrive in their health. So we really focus on optimizing people holistically. And we also have many other services at our center that we just kind of like to highlight when we do these talks. So obviously, I'm a holistic chiropractor, myself and Dr. Carrie Jacobson. We work through chiropractic kinesiology, which we'll talk more about that. But we also have a Chinese medicine doctor, an acupuncturist. We have a holistic esthetician. We do ionic foot detoxification, Reiki, exercise classes, reflexology, so much more, classes for the community. So definitely check out our website if you're local. We have so much to offer. And we're all about building community of like-minded people who want to feel well and thrive in their health. So our website is beoptimal.com, beoptimal. And that's the same for our social media, is beoptimal. Okay, so getting into it, what is chiropractic kinesiology? What is holistic medicine? So the foundation of how I practice is we use the model called the triad of health. So if you guys think about a triangle, obviously there's three sides, okay? Each side represents a different aspect of our health that can contribute to symptoms showing up. So tonight's theme is gut health. So think about, there's three different areas that imbalances in the gut could potentially come from, okay? The base of the triangle, we're going to call structural or physical health. So there can be physical imbalances within the body that can show up as imbalances in the gut. Okay. Classic examples, just classic chiropractic, making sure the body's in alignment, the nerves are all communicating well with each other. That's what drives the function of every organ system in the body. So of course, I'm a chiropractor. I'm going to say, if you have gut imbalances, this is hugely important with children. If they're experiencing gut issues, get them to a chiropractor to get their spine checked in alignment. Everything flows better. Any mom that's taken their baby to a chiropractor would echo this. They get adjusted almost right away, usually have a bowel movement because it gets things flowing. We're no different. We've just been messed up for longer as adults. So that physical aspect is really important when it comes to gut health. And we're going to get into some more tips for that. Okay, the next side of the triangle is biochemical. That's all of those internal processes happening in the body. So that's the diet we eat, the maybe foods we should be avoiding that are making us inflamed, the nutrients we might be lacking, medications we're taking, supplements we're taking, inflammation levels, hormone levels. Just think about all those internal processes that happen in the body that we don't think about. That's our biochemistry in action. So we're going to talk about ways we can optimize that to have a healthy gut. And the last piece, which is huge, huge, huge with gut health, is emotional health. There is a big time correlation between gut issues and stress and emotions. And so we're going to get a little bit deeper into why that is and things we can do to help that. So, okay, back to the structural piece. I talked about chiropractic, how chiropractic adjustments can be beneficial for gut, especially people that are maybe irregular in their bowel movements or have problems with that. Definitely see a chiropractor, could help. There's other physical things that can really be beneficial, like colon hydrotherapy. That's a great kind of more physical thing you can get done to just help flush toxins out of the body, get things moving again, hydrate the colon. It is really, really helpful. And so reach out if you need, if you're local, we have some great people we refer to for that service. Next is biochemical. So I say this all the time to my patients, you cannot out supplement a poor diet and lifestyle. Okay. Everyone wants, like, what's the one magic pill I can take that's going to heal my gut? And there are many supplements that are super beneficial for that, but you've got to start with the basics. Don't start taking 20 supplements a day if you haven't optimized your diet first. So I want to talk about the basics first, and then we'll get into some supplements I love. So, and guys, if you just hopped on, feel free to throw any questions in the comments. We'll make sure to get to them. So hydration is number one. If you struggle with regular bowel movements, make sure you're optimizing your hydration. So generally I recommend take your body weight, divide it in half. That's how many ounces you want to aim for with your water intake at a minimum. Okay. If you are consuming a lot of caffeinated products, you want to replace that with water. So say you have a couple cups of coffee a day, add a couple extra cups of water. If you are exercising and sweating a ton or like doing a sauna a lot, you want to add extra water. I think you want to replace anything you're losing, right? So in the summer months, a lot of people tend to drink more water. Okay. So many people are quite below that. Okay. If you're like, oh my gosh, I only drink 30 ounces of water a day, increase it slowly. Okay. You're going to hate me. You're going to hate how you feel if you triple your water intake overnight. It's just not going to feel good. Your body needs to acclimate. So try drinking like 10 more ounces a day than you normally do. Do that for a week, then add 10 more. Gradually increase the amount you're doing is really helpful, but aim for that half your body weight in ounces. The other thing that's very important with water is the quality of the water we drink. Unfortunately, our tap water is really laden with chemicals. There's just a lot of nasty stuff in it that we don't want. And what happens when we're drinking tap water that's full of chlorine and fluoride and trace levels of medications and all this stuff that just isn't good for us, our body's super smart. It recognizes that kind of toxic water and says, this isn't good for me. And those are people that say they drink 100 ounces of water a day, but they're just constantly having to use the restroom. Your body's doing you a favor actually by like flushing the poor quality water out and not absorbing it. So then the problem is you're drinking a lot of water, but you're not actually hydrated. So my favorite kind of water is spring water. It tends to be the most natural. It's naturally higher in minerals, which are also very essential to water absorption. So if you're going out and purchasing water, I recommend buying a spring water. If you're looking for a filtration type situation to have at your home, my favorite type are countertop filters, actually not the ones that are under the sink. The ones that are under the sink tend to house a lot of bacteria and mold because it's just like sitting still water under your sink. It doesn't clear on a daily basis, which is really important. And so I actually like the countertop ones because you can clear them out. It's very easy to clean them. One is usually just fine for a family. You just put tap water on the top and it filters through. And many of them do a nice job at remineralizing the water as well. So a couple countertop filters I love. We have in my home, we use Nikin, which is a countertop system that remineralizes. I really like the Berkey system. That one's a really common one that's gaining a lot of popularity. They do a great job. They've got extra filters you can throw on for fluoride and all this cool stuff. And another good one is Zero Water. So those three kind of I can stand by because I've looked into them and I know they do a good job. Everyone is making water filters now, so you've got to be careful with that. Do your due diligence, make sure they do a good job and can improve what they're taking out of the water. But a filter is a total game changer. Most of those countertop guys are under $300. It's well worth it, especially if you're purchasing a lot of water. Someone asked about Clearly filter. I haven't heard of that one, so I'll have to look into it. The three I really know are Nikin, Zero, and Berkey. So I can write those in the chat here for you guys. Okay, so water's huge. In the quantity you're drinking is important. Most people are chronically dehydrated, and in the quality. So that's number one. If that's where you want to start, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with my gut, start with your water, get that on point and good quality. And then, add another thing on. It's very overwhelming to be like, I need to change everything in my life tomorrow. Start with one thing. Okay. Next is I want to talk about some basic supplements that pretty much everyone needs and could benefit. And then we'll get into food. So basic supplements that pretty much no one has enough of is minerals, which I talked about. You can remineralize your water, but just part of it is, that's awesome. Someone says they really like the Clearly filter. I have to look into it. The problem is with our soil. So even if we're eating really great organic, good quality food, fresh from your farmer that does a great job, like it or not, our soil is very depleted of minerals. 50 years ago, people would get the minerals they need from the food they ate. Now it's pretty much impossible. So minerals is one for me that pretty much whatever you're doing, you should be supplementing minerals here and there and remineralizing your water. There's great multi-mineral supplements out there. My favorite that I just discovered recently, that we need to start carrying in my office for sure, is called Quinton Minerals. They're from the sea. It's amazing. It's been around since like the 1800s. Really, really cool. I take it every day. It's really great for your immune system and your digestion. So minerals is a good, easy one. A really great hack to add minerals to things is to use some sea salt. So even like in your water bottle for the day, take a pinch of Himalayan sea salt, throw it in there. I think there's like over 80 minerals in sea salt. So that's an easy thing. Sprinkle it on top of your food. Good quality salt is not bad for you. That one's just kind of like a crazy marketing ploy. It's more the table salt, iodized salt, that has some negative effects, but we need salt. It's very, very important for our bodies actually, and also helps with water absorption. So minerals and salt and magnesium is another one that's really important. So there's many different forms of magnesium. A couple I really like. I like magnesium citramate. I like magnesium glycinate, is amazing for people that are prone to anxiety too. Magnesium is another one that's almost everyone's depleted of magnesium. If you struggle with regular bowel movements, headaches, anxiety, like so many things can be optimized by adding a magnesium supplement. We have many at our store, so you can look at that online at Be Optimal or come in and see us and we can make some recommendations. Of course, with supplements, I'll talk about this in a bit. Quality is really, really important. So don't buy your magnesium from Costco. Okay, so now let's talk diet, especially for gut health. Oh, someone asked, what about Spindrift canned sparkling water as an occasional substitute? Yeah, sparkling water, I don't necessarily have a problem as like an occasional substitute, exactly how you put it, Lisa. Sparkling water, I don't recommend doing that while you eat. And a lot of people enjoy like their fizzy water with a meal, which I understand, it's kind of nice. But what happens is carbonation lowers the acidity of the stomach. It kind of neutralizes the pH of the stomach, which is not what we want to do when we're eating a meal. When we're eating a meal, we want the stomach to be very, very acidic to help break down the food we're eating. So by altering the pH of the stomach, it can make digestion a bit harder. So I recommend, I love enjoying a fizzy water just as much as the next person. I would not count it as your, let's say you're aiming for 100 ounces of water a day. I wouldn't count that as like an 8 to 12 ounce. I would look at that kind of like you look like a soda, a million times better than a soda, but it's like an extra treat beverage than necessarily that's the main part of your water consumption. And I see patients that have this issue all the time. They're drinking like 8 LaCroix a day, and that's most of their water, and their gut health is not very great. So look at it as like an extra added on treat. Try not to do it with a meal. Do it aside from meals, and that can tend to really help. Great question. Okay, so diet for gut health. First, I'm going to talk about the foods I recommend removing. Then we'll go into the foods I recommend on focusing on. Okay. So I'm going to talk about 5 foods I recommend taking out of your diet, especially if you're struggling with gut health. Okay. Number 1 is processed sugar. Sugar is just super inflammatory. A lot of gut issues are rooted in inflammation. Most of the issues surrounding the gut are rooted in chronic inflammation. So it's really about lowering the inflammation we can control. Okay. So processed sugar, that's like the white table sugar, obviously, that is, used in baked goods, cookies, candies, cakes, sweets, hidden in coffee drinks, all of that. We want to avoid that processed extra sugar. If you choose to sweeten things, then I would recommend doing that with a natural sweetener, like a local organic honey or dates, or I like monk fruit sweetener sometimes as a substitute, coconut sugar. There's all sorts of things out there now that you can use instead of processed sugar. Someone says, you're saying carbonation hurts gut health. I would say it hurts the ability of the stomach to break down your food. Okay. Now, all of this stuff is like, how crazy do you want to go, right? If you're really struggling with gut symptoms and they're chronic and really affecting your day-to-day life, and you're doing a lot of carbonated water, I'd recommend take it out for a couple weeks, see what you notice. But it does alter the pH of the stomach, making it harder for you to break down food. So it's everything in balance, right? Ideally, I love my patients to be able to live the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, they're really, really clean. 20% of the time, they can enjoy life. They can have their fizzy water, they can have some fun foods, and it doesn't make them feel bad, if that makes sense. Okay. All right, so processed sugar, number one to avoid. Number two is wheat or gluten, okay? I don't say that because everyone is allergic to gluten. That's definitely not true. However, most of it is a quality issue, okay? In our country, because of our farming practices and pesticide use and all of that, the gluten we have has become incredibly toxic, and it creates a huge spike in inflammation. Okay, making it very hard for healing, creating things like leaky gut. It's just a huge piece of the puzzle with gut health. And so I'd recommend removing all gluten. The problem with gluten is with other foods, you can kind of more practice moderation and see a big benefit. With gluten, the inflammatory markers from gluten stay in your bloodstream for up to 12 weeks from like one serving. Okay, so you kind of have to go big or go home with the gluten piece, like really be committed to it for 3 to 6 months to really see a benefit. I see people all the time that went gluten-free for a week, didn't notice a big difference. So understandably so, they're like, that must not be my issue, but they didn't really give it enough time for the inflammation to go down. So you got to be committed to that one. Look at gluten-free products, switch out the stuff, and really see how you feel. And yes, gluten from the US is really the issue. There's plenty of people with celiac disease that go to Italy, go to Europe, are just fine. So I really believe it's a quality issue in how we farm and how we produce that crop. Then it's like only the gluten piece. Okay. So gluten's number two, again, for inflammation and toxicity levels. Number three is dairy. Okay. Many people know this. Oh my gosh, lactose intolerance is through the roof, right? And this really commonly happens as we get older. I see this all the time. Patients in their 50s are like, all of a sudden, every time I have ice cream, my stomach hurts, right? Versus like 5 years ago, they were just fine. Okay. The problem with dairy, again, it kind of goes back to quality. Honestly, I believe fundamentally, like we should be able to consume like raw dairy from like grass-fed healthy animals is like in many cultures a health food. But our cows are not healthy. They're pumped full of antibiotics and steroids. They don't graze in pastures. They're stuck in a cage. Like you don't want dairy from an unhealthy cow. And that's most of what's out there. I mean, I'm in Illinois. Here it's like illegal to have raw dairy. There's places you can find it, but it's tricky. In other states, they're a little more lenient. But again, it's quality. We do not create enzymes well that break down, especially cow dairy. And so that's for many people, it causes chronic inflammation, really upsets the stomach and stuff like that. And it also is a big mucus producer. So people with like people that get sinus infections every year, are chronically stuffy, ear infections, that sort of thing, you can remove dairy and it's like a miracle for people. Also, a big one is kids with acne. It's probably the number one I see is caused by dairy. So that's a good one to look at too. Yeah, someone asked if we can find raw dairy from small grass-fed farms, is it still tainted? That's a hard question to answer. Ultimately, if the quality is there, like that's about as good as you can get, I would say try it and see how you feel. Sorry, the dogs in my house are going nuts. I would also play around, try a little bit, see what you notice for 3 or 4 days. Do you feel more mucousy? Do you have a little bit of breakouts on your skin? Are you a little constipated or a little loose? Like, how is it affecting how your body feels? For some people, they do really well on raw dairy. Like, they feel better. It's a great protein and fat source for them. For some people, it's still just like causes inflammation. And part of it, I think, is like throughout their life, then they kind of have built up a level of lactose intolerance. So even good quality, they don't do well on it. What I will say is I have definitely seen people pretty much across the board do better on dairy from sheep and goat. So for folks that are like, I cannot give up my cheese, it's like at least switch to goat cheese, or like you can get cheddar cheese made from sheep's milk pretty easily at like Whole Foods and places like that. So switch to those. Our DNA is actually closer to goats and sheep than it is to cows. So we tend to process that better, especially for kiddos. I understand sometimes for kids, like cheese and whatever is a quick snack, swap it out to sheep's milk, goat's milk. A lot of times you can find that raw as well, like raw cheese, especially in kind of like smaller grocery stores. And that can be definitely easier on the gut. Okay, so foods to remove. We've had sugar, wheat, dairy. Next one is corn. Okay. Corn is also highly inflammatory. It's one of the most pesticide ridden foods in our planet. It's actually genetically modified to create and produce its own pesticide, which is really nuts if you think about that. And corn was really made as food for farm animals to make them fat as quickly as possible. So it's just not a health promoting food. It's kind of empty calories. It's a filler in a lot of things. It hides out in a lot of weird processed and packaged foods. And especially in forms like popcorn, it's actually super, super harsh on the gut. And so that's the main point with gut health in corn is it's so hard for us to break corn down. And so it sounds gross, but think about it. Like if you have corn on the cob and you go to the bathroom, it's like whole in your bowel movement, right? That means your body can't break it down. And so that means it's kind of like wreaking havoc on your system. So I recommend avoiding corn. Corn, I'm not going to lie, is kind of tough if you're going gluten-free because many gluten-free products are cornmeal or corn flour. So this is where you want to be really careful about labels, really be hyper aware of the things you're purchasing, read the ingredients because there are plenty of clean corn-free brands out there, but we just get in the habit of buying something that looks healthy without really looking, doing our due diligence with labels. So look out for corn. It is in a lot of things. You'll realize how many things it's in once you start trying to avoid it. Okay. The last food to avoid is soy. Okay. Soy, is really inflammatory in nature. And a big thing it wreaks havoc on is the hormonal system of the body. So I'm not going to go super deep into this because it's not today's topic. However, soy is not a complete protein and it's more meant to be like a condiment, like a little side in a dish, not a main protein source. So this tends to be a problem more with people that are vegan or vegetarian. They might be doing a lot of soy to get their grams of protein in for the day. But unfortunately, again, so much of this comes back to like our poor farming and manufacturing processes. Soy in this country is not made the proper way, manufactured the proper way, made from like organic, clean sources. And it's just heavily processed and doesn't work that well in our bodies. So I see a lot of people that are getting a lot of soy from things like protein bars and protein shakes. It's really common, or doing a lot of like soy milk, like as a dairy replacement. So look for that. If you're looking for a dairy replacement, I recommend things more like nut milks, almond milk, coconut milk, cashew milk, macadamia, everything's a milk now, right? So versus the soy products. Okay, so that's the foods to avoid: sugar, wheat, dairy, corn, and soy. Now, what's left? What can you eat, right? Pretty much things that are whole foods and that are not processed is what you're left with, fresh whole foods. So protein, I do really recommend that people consume animal protein if you are able. Protein is the number one building block of the cells and regeneration in our body. We need protein. It's super, super important, as long as it, of course, is good quality, right? You're better off eating vegetarian if your only option is like factory farmed beef from sick cows. Okay. So in my family, for example, we pretty much plan our menus based on what good quality, like grass-fed organic protein is available that week, right? Some weeks you go to Whole Foods and there's not grass-fed beef. So that week we might not eat beef. We might be having lamb or bison or chicken or turkey. So, but protein is very, very important. Good quality, of course. Okay. Someone asked that she supplemented a child with soy formula, and now he's 5. Would there be any lasting hormonal damage from having drank that as a baby? That's hard to say, but I will say is I fully believe that the body is designed to heal and thrive and is super intelligent and amazing. So I wouldn't necessarily expect that there would be like permanent damage from a baby formula. Especially if you're not seeing other hormonal signs. So just something to look up, out for in your children. With female children, are they starting their cycle super, super early, like going through puberty way earlier than they should? A thing with boys that really commonly happens is they'll develop like breasts basically. You can see a lot of like 10, 12-year-old boys that look like that. That's a hormonal thing. So certain things to look out for, but just remind yourself, like, better, you do better. The body's designed to heal. It's all good. Okay. So protein, veggies, fruits, and healthy fats. If you're eating in those 4 categories, you're doing pretty great. Okay. So vegetables and fruits, same things apply, organic when possible. A great tip is it's less of a like bad thing to have non-organic with fruits and vegetables with like thick peels. So like I don't necessarily sweat it if there's not organic bananas available. They've got that nice thick peel to protect the fruit, which is what you're eating, from pesticide exposure. That's the big deal with organic, is we want to limit the amount of pesticides and chemicals on our food. Things like berries, I absolutely will not buy them unless they're organic, because there's not a great way for those foods to protect themselves from all the chemicals. There's not awesome ways to 100% get it off either. So things like avocados, oranges, bananas, those are going to be a lot safer if it's not organic. Okay. Another great tip for organic fruits and veggies is to buy frozen stuff. I love to go to Costco and get a huge bag of like frozen organic blueberries. And that'll last me for months for smoothies and stuff like that. Frozen a lot of times is more affordable too, which is great. And healthy fats are things like nuts, seeds, avocados, healthy oils like olive oil, coconut oil, ghee. I love grass-fed butter, as long as it's good quality. I think that's like a health food, basically. So healthy fats are super, super important, really important for the gut too. We need healthy fats that needs to like cushion our organs. And fat got a real bad rap for a long time. Like in the 90s, there was a whole smear campaign on how horrible fat was, and it's really an essential nutrient for our bodies. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is some of my other supplements and kind of like protocols for gut healing. So one thing we want to look at when I like to teach when we're talking basic gut health is it's like a 3-pronged approach to heal the gut. Okay. We can't like just focus on probiotics. There's different things at play when the gut is unhealthy. So the first thing we want to look at doing is healing the gut lining. Okay. Many of you guys have probably heard of something called leaky gut. It's kind of a big buzzword out there. Okay. Leaky gut means the cells in our gut should all stick together like perfectly tight, right? There shouldn't be any holes, any toxins and stuff leaking out. However, so many things can cause the gut to be leaky. And I think most people on some level have a certain level of leaky gut syndrome happening. Okay. It doesn't mean you have to have symptoms, but it's very easy for this to happen. This can happen with inflammation. So we've talked about some foods that are not so good for the gut, right? You have a bunch of popcorn, could lead to some leaky gut. years of a poor diet, maybe before you realized, how to take care of yourself, could cause leaky gut. Stress, just stress can cause leaky gut. Okay. Maybe you're eating the perfect diet, but you go through a really stressful period, like the last 2 years for many people, right? Now you're having gut issues. Okay. So how do we fix that? There's supplements that can help with that. Okay. But again, back to the foundations, we want to make sure we're not fueling the fire with inflammatory foods that make the problem worse, right? So you can't just slap a bunch of supplements on the gut. Otherwise, you'll have to take that stuff forever, right? Ideally, we can heal the gut and you're not reliant on a bunch of supplements all day, every day to feel good. Okay. So, gut lining. I'm going to show you guys one of my favorite products for that. It's called Mega Mucosa by Microbiome Labs. This is a powder. It's designed to go in and seal up those leaks. Okay, so what happens, let's say with chronic stress, the cells in the gut go whoop, and then all these endotoxins and things can leak out, inflammation can leak out. And even when you're eating really good quality food or taking really good quality supplements, you can't absorb it all because you've got leaky gut. So it's super, super important. And I found patients that haven't addressed this piece. Maybe they've eaten a clean diet, maybe they take enzymes, maybe they do probiotics, essential oils, all the things. It's like the gut lining is a real key. Mega Mucosa by Microbiome Labs. Someone asked to show this again. We have this in our online store. We have it at our place if you guys are local. You can reach out to us too. This is a physician's exclusive company, so you have to get it through a doctor that sells it. So there's a scooper in here. It's a flavored powder. What you do is like first thing in the morning, before coffee, before your meals, before you start your day, you drink this in a little bit of water. It coats and helps heal the gut, seal up those leaks before you're putting other stuff in your system. Okay. And their research shows this pretty much rehabs the gut lining in 1 month. It's really amazing. But I have a lot of patients that feel so good on it, they just want to take it all the time. Okay. Other things that can do this, Mega Mucosa, yes, rebuilds the mucosal layer of the gut. A lot of people use L-glutamine to do this, is another nice supplement that can work on that. Things like bone broth can do a beautiful job at helping the gut lining. What else? Things like aloe vera can be really calming for the gut lining, but this is my favorite. Okay, next approach, we kind of talked about this, the stomach, super, super important that the pH is right and that we have enzymes to break down our food. Okay, like digestion starts there. You've got to be able to break down the food you're eating and churn it so then it can go through the small and large intestine. Okay. Most of us have like depleted our enzyme stores. We learned this from an amazing nutritionist out of Arizona. He taught us that the enzymes in your body, basically you're born with like an ATM of enzymes. And every time you eat, you're withdrawing from your account of enzymes. And many times adults, by the time they get well into adulthood, they've drawn out all the enzymes just because of like our poor diet and lifestyle. And so then you need to supplement enzymes to help your body break down. Okay, so I've got a couple different products here. There's so many great enzymes out there. So here's one, it's called Gastro Digest 2. It's by a company called Vervita. We have this in our store. It's a multi-enzyme. It's also got some other things in it, like ox bile extract, which also helps. It's got some herbs and it has some HCl in it. I love products with HCl for digestion as well as enzymes. Hydrochloric acid is just that, it's acid. So when we talked about, most people actually don't have enough acid in their stomach. Even though you think of your stomach as so acidic, right? If you have heartburn, stuff like that, if you throw up, obviously you can tell it's very acidic. But what happens is we get stressed, inflammation, all of that, acidity levels go down, or I should say go up. The pH of the stomach gets reversed. Then we don't have adequate acid to break stuff down. Okay. This is actually where a lot of times things like Tums and antacid supplement actually makes people's problem worse. It might calm down the symptom for a few minutes because it's going to neutralize that acidic feeling. However, the problem often is that there's not enough acid. So taking an enzyme or something with some acid in there can be super helpful. This is a supplement that is just betaine hydrochloride. So this you could take with a meal, a little bit of extra acid to help your body break it down. Okay. Versus there's lots of products out there that are like multi enzymes. It gives your body the enzymes you need. Enzymes and stuff like that you take with a meal. So you're sitting down for dinner, pop a couple enzymes. It'll help your stomach do its thing and break down your food. Okay. So we've got healing the gut lining, enzymes, and now we're going to talk probiotic. Someone asked, Mega Mucosa has stevia. Is there anything without? Yeah. If you're looking for something without a sweetener, I'd recommend going like the L-glutamine route, something like that. We have it at our store. You can find L-glutamine at a lot of different places. And it usually is in, well, it's in powdered form too, but like we have it in capsule form, and you can do that instead of something with stevia. So yeah. Okay. Probiotic. My favorite, hands down, nothing better. Megaspore Biotic by Microbiome Labs. Same company that makes Mega Mucosa. It's a spore biotic. Spore biotics are very different than just regular probiotics. Okay. Spores are one of the most ancient organisms on our planet, and they're protected by a protected shell. So most probiotics, there's been studies done on them, even great, really well respected, like doctor grade brands. Once they actually study what happens to those probiotics, they're dead before they even get to the small and large intestine, which that's where you want probiotics to do their thing. Okay. Why? Because of the acidity, the stomach acid. It's meant to kill anything. Our stomach is so acidic. That's why, for the most part, we don't get sick, right? It kills viruses, bacteria, all the stuff. That's what it's designed to do. So when you just take a pill that's a bomb of a bunch of bacteria, they're dead. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that that's not beneficial for the gut. Okay. Because then people say, I've been taking this great probiotic for years and it's been so helpful for me. That's wonderful. But most probiotics are not doing what they claim to do, which is to repopulate and refurbish the microbiome, because those bacteria are dead by the time they get there. Spore-based probiotics, which are kind of the new thing, spores are super resilient. They can survive super, super harsh environments. So they actually survive the stomach and then repopulate in the small and large intestine. And they feed off of yeast and candida. They're like Pac-Man. They go and eat the bad guys. They're like the police of the gut. And so they actually heal the gut microbiome. It's really amazing. So, oh my gosh, once we discovered these guys, it was like game over. We basically stopped carrying other probiotics because they just blow everyone out of the water. This supplement, Megaspore Biotic, you can get from our office. You can go to our website, beoptimal.com. We can ship to you. If you're local, you can come pick it up, because yes, the Microbiome Labs products are physician grade only. So you have to get them from a healthcare provider, but they're the best. Okay. Last thing I want to talk about, there's the whole world of essential oils. I love using essential oils. There's so many that can help digestion, but I just wanted to talk about one because it's kind of a different way to attack gut health. This is an oil called black cumin oil. It's probably kind of hard to see. But black cumin oil is just from black cumin seed. It's the essential oil from that. It's so amazing for digestive symptoms and digestive health. So it tastes like taco seasoning, if you guys have had cumin. Okay. So I have kids take this orally, just put a couple drops on their hand and lick it. It's awesome for helping promote digestion. I'll have moms rub it on their kids' bellies. It's helpful for tummy troubles. You can throw it in a bath with kids with gut stuff. It's just an awesome complement to have in your arsenal. Another blend I love is Digest by Young Living. Smells horrible, but it's really effective. If my daughter ever has tummy stuff, I rub that on her and it's like fixed within minutes. So essential oils are great, especially symptomatically. If people are having, especially children, tummy troubles, they're super gentle and safe. Okay. So those are there's so many supplements for gut health too. I want to drive this home. These are not the only options. And if you're really struggling with gut health and want to heal, Of course, I always recommend working with a healthcare provider that can kind of point you in the direction your body needs. But these are all really great general overall supplements to up your gut function. Okay. Last but not least, we're going to talk about emotions because this is absolutely huge. You can take all the perfect supplements and have the perfect diet, but if stress is contributing to imbalances in the gut, you're only going to get so far. Okay. So emotions and gut are hugely related. There's a reason we have sayings like, I feel it in my gut, right? The gut like talks to us basically. And most of you, if you have children, you've probably noticed this. Very, very commonly, anxiety and emotional stress in children manifests as tummy aches. Okay. It's not really that they're sick or they ate something bad. That's how stress is showing up in their body. So it's just important for you guys to know that if you're struggling with gut symptoms or your children are, that's an area to look at and it's something that can be addressed. So basically, if you think that emotions or stress are contributing to your gut system, it's time to look at ways to manage stress better in life. So time to look at, do you have enough downtime, enough time off? Is it time for a vacation? Because going to work every day is literally making you feel sick. Okay. And regular daily stress management practices like meditation, journaling, healing modalities. We're going to talk a little bit about this, but we do a practice called neuro-emotional technique or NET that helps get to the stressful triggers that might be contributing to gut symptoms. Things like the lifeline technique, acupuncture, emotional freedom technique, emotion code, hypnotherapy. These are all amazing modalities that hit that emotional side of the triad because I find that's one of the most neglected ones, right? We always want the one diet that's going to heal us or the supplement or the thing we can do. But sometimes so much of it is coming from stress. Okay, so I want to teach you guys a quick technique. This comes from neuro-emotional technique or NET, and it's an at-home stress relief technique you can do that helps release some of that emotional or stress-based charge. Okay, so this is something you can teach for kids, by the way. It's awesome for kids. It's a quick little breathing technique. Okay, so what you guys are going to do, this technique uses the pulse points from acupuncture. So what you're going to do is take one side of your wrist. You're going to reach around your wrist. This is kind of hard to see, and put 3 fingers right on where you would feel the pulse. Okay, so if you can feel your pulse, you're on the right spot. And you're going to maintain that contact, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 3 fingers there. And this hand is going to go on your forehead. Okay, the emotional reflex of the body are on the forehead. That's why intuitively when we're stressed, we go, okay. So again, 3 fingers here, hand on your forehead. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to connect to whatever is stressing you out in that moment. So let's say it's something at work. Your boss is driving you nuts. Okay. You're going to connect to that stress with your boss and connect to the emotion it makes you feel. So let's say in this example, it's anger. Okay. So I'm going to touch the reflex points, hand on my forehead, close my eyes. I'm going to connect to that feeling of anger and take a few deep breaths and focus on blowing out that feeling of anger. And the best way I can explain it to you is like, it's waiting to feel like the charge has come down from that experience. So when you first connect to it, you'll feel all angry about whatever's going on at work. After a few breaths, you'll feel it come down. Then you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So 2nd finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger, close my eyes, connect to the anger at work. Few deep breaths, focus on blowing out that emotion of anger. And that's it. You do both sides because in acupuncture, there's different meridians that run along each side of the body. So it helps basically reset you energetically. Okay, so that's a really quick tip. I have some patients that love doing it at night before they go to bed or in the morning when they wake up. It's a great little reset emotionally. So that's something you guys can do. Teach it to your kids. I have school teachers that teach it to their students. If your kid's stressed out, I tell my little kid patients, I'm like, raise your hand, go to the bathroom and do your breaths. If you're feeling stressed out. So that's a great kind of in the moment technique. But my point is that we all need little tools like that. When we can tell we're getting stressed out or triggered, or your stomach's talking to you because you're really worried about something. It's all about having those little practices you can go to, whether that resonates, or meditation, or putting on a little hypnotherapy recording, whatever works for you. But we all can usually use a little bit more self-care in that department. And a lot of times when that's lacking is when symptoms start popping up for us. So yeah, that's really the triad of health approach to gut health: physical, biochemical, emotional. So I know in these talks, we tend to be really information heavy. We want you guys to get all the good quality information. But my suggestion is, especially if you're just starting, pick one thing. One thing I talked about tonight: removing one food from your diet, working on your hydration, adding a supplement that maybe you really felt like you would benefit from. You don't put the pressure on yourself to change everything overnight either, because that's not sustainable. So pick an area where you feel like you need support and start addressing that. And if you want further guidance, that's what we're here for. So anyone that's interested in becoming a patient, if you're not already a patient, we offer a great discount if you guys tuned in tonight and watched this talk to get you started on your health journey. If you're feeling you want more of an individualized approach for what's going on with you, we're always here for that. You can call us anytime, 847-486-8000 is our number. You can schedule an appointment. All of that obviously is on our website and our social media and all of that. If you need more support from one of our practitioners, we're happy to do that. And so feel free, you guys, if there's any last minute questions, I'll hang on for another second here if you want to pop a question in there. And otherwise, thank you for coming. It's been really great. And you guys can check our social media on our website. We do these free live streams every month. Dr. Carrie and I alternate doing them, and also our doctor of Chinese medicine, Dr. J.R. Heiss. He does one usually the fourth week of the month from the Chinese medicine perspective. His are really informative as well. Someone said, do you have a particular sea salt you recommend that tests well? Yeah, obviously you want to make sure your salt's not contaminated with stuff. I'm trying to think of the brand. Ooh, it's called Real Salt. I know is a really, really good one that you can order. In general, I really like the colored salts, like pink Himalayan salt, gray salt. But yeah, that's a great question. Real Salt is the one that I know they do a really, really great job of quality. Alrighty, any other last minute questions? Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope to catch you soon at our other events. And thanks for coming. Oh yeah, Redmond is a good brand. I agree. That is another one. All right, thanks everyone. All right, for Zoom people, I will stay on for another moment if you guys specifically have another question. I'm gonna stop the recording. All right. Thanks for coming, guys. Lisa, I think you're the last one on. Good to see you.
Oh, you too.
Yeah. Tell the fam hi.
I will. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Damien.
It was good.
Thanks.
No questions online, it seems. So.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Most of the questions were from Instagram, which is to be expected.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Facebook has been kind of dead lately the last couple of times that I've
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know if like something changed with the algorithm. I mean, that's why I was saying what I do know from my personal account on Facebook, like I do nothing on there anymore.
Yeah.
I used to like share all my posts on there, but I was like, what's the point? Anyone that follows me is on Instagram. So I'm sure that doesn't help with the algorithm because I never do anything. Like who's going to see my video on there?
Got it. Yeah. Yep. It's Facebook is always its own beast.
So, but it's all good. It's a placeholder. I also like, I don't know if I tagged Be Optimal in it.
Oh, well, I
So-
shared it to the Be Optimal page after.
Oh, okay, perfect. Let's see, I usually make it like the location or something, so it pops up there, so it's all
Yeah.
good. Alrighty. I'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
All right, bye.